What's up, Rumors Are True podcast? This is Joey Svensson. You may remember me from Bad Christian or Pastor With No Answers podcast, and I've got some pretty killer news. Me, my brother Jared, and your favorite podcast host, Jeremy Gold, the one delivering to you the episode you're about to listen to, started Roster Music Club. In the last 3 months, club members have enjoyed 6 online performances by some of the very artists you and I love, including Gyro from Mortal, Bill from The Throws, and Ted from Craig's Brother. We've had a couple of hangouts, have established our club's top 10 tooth and nail albums, and we started a war. That's EP Wars, 16 of the greatest EPs going head-to-head in a tournament until we crown the victor. We've been supplying curated playlists. There's a private podcast feed with extra content, and videos of everything that's ever happened in the club is yours when you join. In upcoming months, we're doing a deep dive on all things Radiohead, and as I speak, 3 musicians are listening to the club's top 10 tooth and nail releases, albums we've enjoyed for 30 years. These artists that I rounded up, they're listening to these albums for the very first time, and I can't wait to hear how they react. The Starflyer 59 Silver, Living Sacrifice Reborn, Life in General by MXPX. Hearing these albums for the first time. So we're going to talk to them for a live event, and it'll be released on the Roster Music podcast that you should be listening to if you like this podcast. Hey, the club is free to try for a month, then $10 a month from there on out. And I'll tell you this, not a club member has left since joining, so it's worth every penny. Support the club and this show by joining with this code.
RUMORS. That spells rumors.
Hey, we can't wait to see you there. Rostermusic.club. Go there now and join.
This is Andrew Godwin from Embodiment, The Famine, and Hope Deferred. You are listening to the Rumors Are True podcast.
Welcome, this is Jeremy Allen Gould, and I'm coming to you today to confirm between God and of man that the rumors you have all heard are true. I started this podcast to have a platform for the bands and artists that I've worked with in the past, as well as new musicians and artists that influenced myself and many others. The Rumors Are True podcast is an opportunity for the artists to tell their story their way. I'm still in the business of confirming rumors. I still love a good conversation, and I still freaking love music. So thanks again for joining me on this journey, and I hope you like what you hear. With that said, the rumors are definitely true. Hey, welcome to this latest episode of the Rumors Are True podcast. My name is Jeremy, and today I welcome my friend, Zak Shultz. You know Zak from the bands Stairwell, The W's, and My Red Hot Nightmare. Awesome conversation with Zak. So stoked to have him on this podcast. Been wanting to have him on for a while, so I'm really excited for you guys to hear this latest episode with Zak Shultz.
Hey, Zach, what's up, dude? Thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
You're welcome, buddy. Good to be here.
Yeah, man. What's going on, man? Tell me what's going on in your world right now.
Well, just got off a 2 days straight of working 24-hour shifts. I am a firefighter for a city in Southern California now. And just working my day job, being up at all hours of the day and night. And just got home to, take care of the kids and do the normal dad stuff now.
Do you like the 24-hour shifts?
I've gotten so used to those. Like, if you make me work in 8 to 5 right now, I might shoot myself. It's just, I've been injured on the job a couple of times and then been forced to work in 8 to 5. And I don't understand how people, so, I also will complain about the 24-hour shifts because I'm up at all hours of the night and I can't seem to, everyone else in life is able to like, be like, well, on Mondays I do this and Tuesdays I go to the gym for this time to this time. And, I try to do my yoga from Monday to Thursday and I can't do that.
Yeah.
There's no possibility for me to have a daily, my life is all up and down all over the place. So.
Is it like 2 days on, 3 days off type of thing? Is that kind of how it is? Or
it works out to about 10 days, 10 24-hour shifts a month. And our schedule is an odd one. It's 1 day on, 1 day off, 4 times in a row. And then you have 6 days off. Then you do the whole thing again, and then you have 4 days off.
Oh, wow. Interesting.
So it's a weird, we call it a 4s and 6s because we like to concentrate on our days off, not our days
man.
off. So
that's cool, man. That's awesome. What city in Cali are you in? I forgot.
San Diego.
Oh, that's right. I don't know why I was thinking it was higher, more northern than that, but
well, I live an hour north of that, so
okay.
I live in Many and I commute to San Diego.
Oh, wow.
Which is pretty common with California.
Yeah, man. Absolutely. Just was out there in the lovely traffic and it was quite pleasant. Sick, dude. Let's talk about growing up for you, man. Bring me through some of those records, some of those bands, some of those influences, maybe even concerts that kind of pushed you in the direction that you went musically in your life.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, this is one of my favorite things to talk about and one of my least favorite because as my family and my friends will attest, they've probably heard this story a million times because it's an odd one. I did not grow up like most other people in bands. And I know many of my other friends and people that will maybe listen to this have heard this, but I grew up in Papua New Guinea. It's a small country in the South Pacific, right above Australia. I was a missionary kid from the ages about 5 till about 16 or 17. And then even before that, my parents, I was raised on Guam for 2 years, and my parents lived in Australia for 2 years before that. And then when we moved back to America, we lived in Southern California. We lived in Washougal, Washington. We lived in Glide, Oregon, just small towns all over. My dad was an educator, and so he was trying to find jobs here and there. And educator jobs weren't plentiful around that time. So, long story short, I did not have the same American growing up experience of like, I listened to the AM FM radio in the car with my dad, and we had no AM FM radio. There was no radio.
Yeah,
where we're at. All of our cultural aspects of the modern Western world were passed down through our older brothers and sisters who were able to smuggle in things from other places. There was no copyright law in Papua New Guinea.
Oh yeah.
So music and film that would come in pirated. Oftentimes, like the films would be a videotape of somebody at a theater in like Singapore, and they'd bring in their camcorder and film the movie while it was playing on the movie theater, and that's the movie. Every maybe 3 months when we were living out in this village, we would have power from like 4 p.m. to 9 p.m. from a diesel generator, and we would go rent an actual TV and an actual VCR, and we would be able to watch movies.
That is mind-boggling to me.
So,
like, just, we grew up and having so much, and it's like the little things like that. It's just like
you grew up in the 1980s, 1990s. I grew up in the 1950s, basically.
Oh my gosh!
Like television, what is that? I didn't watch television shows. Now, eventually, I mean, it was the 80s, so technology improved a little bit, but music culturally, as I was just saying when we were in TomCon last weekend, music was an amalgamation of whatever somebody wanted to put on a cassette. And it could be, since there was no copyright laws, they would either, like, I remember this specifically, somebody went and recorded Whitney Houston's whatever record was out at the time, and they literally just took a photograph of her, the cover of her record, and wrapped the photograph in the cassette and went, there you go. And then they sold it for, whatever cassette. So that's the kind of thing that they would do. And then somebody, I don't know how this worked technology wise, but somebody would just make mixed cassettes and sell them in stores. If you went to any one of the major towns, there was still stores. It's a third world country, but there's still towns and stores and things. And if you go to that store, you could buy a cassette with like, let's see, I'm trying to stretch back to like how far really back it went. I mean, I joked about it last weekend. It was like DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince.
Yeah. And
then Michael Jackson would be on the same thing. And then Bob Marley would be on the same thing. And, I somehow knew who EPMD was.
Wow.
Way back then. And like some names that like, would not have been like Public Enemy or stuff like that was all on the same mixed tapes. So when I was a kid, like I would just get culture through that, and I would not know about what was what genre, what was.
It was just music to you. Yeah.
Just music. And I didn't know, because I wasn't raised around any of it. I didn't know that I was odd, in the sense that later on in life, I would find out you're an odd kid because you would like put on your music and sit on your bed or lay down on your bed and just like listen.
Yeah.
And I go, ooh, I like that snare sound. Or wasn't it interesting how those harmonies are different in 80s rock than they are in like the bluegrass that my dad listens to sometimes? Oh, those are different. I don't know the musical theory behind that, but those harmonies are not the same. Oh, interesting. And most people I came up with, when I got back to America, they're like, what are you talking about? I was like, no, that was fun and interesting to me. So yeah, all that's kind of how I was raised. My parents were strange. They did not really zero in on 60s culture when they were raised. My dad was out of Bakersfield. My mom was raised in Running Springs, California, small mountain town. And I won't say sheltered, but didn't really focus on the cultural aspects. I can't say like my dad was a Beatles guy, and my mom still listens to Motown and the old 50s stuff a lot, like old 50s female fronted stuff that was very sing-alongable stuff that her mom would have listened to, kind of stuff. So I mean, the my first real influence would probably come from those first mix cassettes, and my sister would like search for things. She was older than a year and a half, and I can still remember her like giving me like Fleetwood Mac, Rumors,
great record,
Lemonheads. That was my first.
Wow, that's so random from that to that.
Yeah, I can remember, like, Lemonheads is legit one of the bands I've been listening to the longest in my life. I can remember her giving that to me.
Into Your Arms. Just kidding.
Yeah. I still play that song regularly. I love
it.
But yeah, that's kind of how I came up. So I didn't grow up going to shows.
That's so crazy. Was Chad there with you? Is that
yep.
that is so crazy to me?
Yeah. I've known him since first grade.
And you both wound up working for the same. That's like, to me, so mind-boggling. Like,
yeah,
I mean, and was he? Like, were you discovering the music with him, or was that was it just basically? Did he have the same, I guess, a way to receive music like you did, or you talking about selling it in the stores and people making the DIY
Yeah.
stuff?
I mean, we all found our little avenues. I think oftentimes what would happen is we would get cultural, things passed down, media from either, like I said, our older brothers and sisters or people that came before us. It was a very small missionary base that we were on. And so as kids, we were hungry for this stuff. And so if you'd find out, oh, hey, so-and-so that, lives right down the road. We knew everyone. I knew everyone's first and last names. I knew everyone's parents. There was only about 1,000 people on this base, and I knew everyone.
Wow.
So you go, oh, so-and-so's older sister just went home to America for a little bit, and she brought back like 10 tapes.
Wow.
And like, we're all going to go like, record versions of that tape. And so that everybody got passed down a copy of, Guns N' Roses. And you're like, ooh, I'm on a missionary base listening to Guns N' Roses. I'm in trouble, there was a lot of pirating things.
Yeah.
Or you'd send people home, or they'd go home for something and they'd be like, ooh, I brought home, I brought back to Papua New Guinea, whatever VCR versions of, what other movies we weren't allowed to watch, but we'd kind of pirate them and, watch them.
That's awesome.
So everybody was doing versions of that. So Chad had his own versions. Chad's family was very much like, you shall not listen to anything unless it's Christian music. So Chad came up like, sorry, Chad's parents, but Chad came up listening to things behind the scenes that he was not supposed to be listening to, but hid it very well. He had a whole specificity behind which tapes he would hide behind which covers so that they didn't see, stuff.
Oh yeah.
My parents didn't care as much, but I was a good kid. I never gave them an issue. And so, every once in a while we'd be listening. It's not like I was out there listening to Two Live Crew all the time, but my parents were not like, you only can listen to Christian music. They were a little cooler than that.
Yeah.
So I came up with, their basics of, like James Taylor. I think my entire family can still sing along to James Taylor, Best of, Volume 1. Stuff like that where you're like, okay, that's the basics. And, most families listen to that kind of stuff together. But Chad kind of rubbed off on me and I kind of rubbed off on him over the years, but we didn't really come into our own until most kids come into their own. Like starting in the teen years, we're starting to figure out, oh, I'm actually really into this. And so we, as kind of two unique souls, we started to realize, oh, we're the movers and shakers behind the scenes that people don't want to admit. Like he was the kid that everyone knew was really passionate. He was a drummer. He loved music. He loved metal, and he kind of put his stamp on things. And as a kid was like, this is who I am. He had a strange haircut. He like established himself as like, this is who I am. Turns out, just like every other kid, Chad was like, I didn't know what the heck I was doing, but I knew I was uncool, but I wanted to be, I wanted to do this stuff. Same thing with me. I was trying to be cool. I was the extrovert in our relationship. I was the one constantly trying to make friends with everyone and kind of out there a lot. And I was going to be a rapper. Until I was 12, everyone was like, oh, it's a rap song. Zach's going to do it. And every school, presentation and every talent show, because there's no other culture, we did a lot of that stuff.
Yeah.
Like, every talent show is like, oh, Zach's going to rhyme. Zach's going to do this version of the clean version of, whatever new Public Enemy song, or I still remember doing Eric B. and Rakim when I was like 12 years old by myself.
Impressive.
Thinking plan. Like I was, and I had no idea that I was a little white freckle-faced kid from nowhere. And I was not, from the inner city in LA or, the street in New York or Brooklyn. Like I just thought, I didn't know there was culture to this. So yeah, we came up at the same time. And then about 12 or 13, we both started realizing, oh, we just love music. And then we started trading stuff back and forth.
Yeah. Did you guys, I know this is kind of a weird question, and I'm just curious, and I should have asked Chad this when I had him on, but did you guys just basically make an oath, hey, we're going to be a part of this? Like, and you wound up doing Yeah, I mean, it's almost as like serendipitous. It's like you guys meet not randomly, but just in that little small town, and you both wind up doing some similar things, you know?
I don't think we ever put it into words that said, we will do this until, we'll get to that one, but, like Chad later on at Tomfest. But I never put it into words. Chad never put it into words when we were kids. But you'll find that in a small town, you don't know who you are. We were raised in a country that is not our own. We were obviously white kids in a black country. We were obviously of a different culture. We did not grow up in a village. We did not speak their languages. Eventually, him and I and many other of us spoke the Melanesian Pidgin, which is the trade language there. But you're reminded every day you're not of them. You're a different thing, but we didn't know what we were because we were not American, but we were. We lived in a whole different country. We also were raised around people from Finland and Sweden and Germany,
Just
and
mixed all over.
Austria and South Korea and Australia and New Zealand. And so I've got friends from all over the world. I'm a chameleon with my accents. I can't tell you how many accents I can do or could back in the day. And again, that makes me just this weird amalgamation of everyone and everything. And so I think after a while you try to go, but who am I? What stamp am I going to put on? Like, even in this small community, I need to differentiate myself. I think more than anything, that was our thing, that we recognized we would like to differentiate ourselves from everyone else here. We sense that we love this thing and we're going to put our own spin on each one of these things. I mean, I played trumpet growing up in band. I didn't even play guitar. I was trying to be a rapper until 12, and by the means of, like, I'm a missionary kid in the middle of nowhere. I'm not trying to be a rapper. I wasn't putting on shows. You know what I mean? It was just like, this is what we did. This is what we loved. And it wasn't a sense of like, I will grow up and do this. We were living in a third world country in basically the jungle. We didn't have a sense of, this is what I will do when I grow up. We had no sense of any of jobs or anything.
That's what makes it even more crazy to me. For real, like, just from my perspective, I'm like, that is mind boggling to me. But it's amazing for you guys. It's cool. It's awesome. When you moved back to the States, what was like the first concert you ever saw? Do you remember that?
I'm so embarrassed by this, but I guess it's all in learning and growing. We moved back to a small town in Southern Oregon. We lived with my grandparents for a year. So I was going to my grandparents' community Bible church in Rouge, Oregon. It's about 7 miles over the California border. So very small community Bible church, very small youth group. And I'm told when I get back to America, you can only listen to this. You can only listen to like Stephen Curtis Chapman and DC Talk and blah, blah, blah. And by that time, Chad had kind of given me some of the Christian metal that he was listening to. So he had given me Guardian.
Dude.
And I thought, okay, Guardian's supposed to be the Christian Bon Jovi or whatever, it's kind of hair metal for the Christians. And I went, all right, I still had this sense as the kid who was not like relegated to, you can only listen to Christian music. I was like, well, but I live with my grandparents. I'm trying to be respectful. I'm not, in my room listening to Metallica. So, okay, I'll go with the youth group. So I went to Guardian and DC Talk in Redding, California.
Wow.
It was a 3.5 hour bus ride. And I didn't, even though I liked rap, I already knew, like, if I grew up listening to like EPMD and Eric B and Rakim.
Yeah, you're not going to like DC Talk.
I mean, I was like, this stuff, like, I already knew that DC Talk was crap, but I went anyways. Lo and behold, like, maybe I should listen to the little voices in my head, because it turns out DC Talk is much worse than we thought it was. But I knew it. I knew something back then. And then, Guardian was fine, but I just didn't like everything around that was like, something seems fake here. Or something seems not wholly right. It just doesn't feel fully put together and like genuine. I don't know. Genuine. It just didn't feel right. So that was the first one. And then it took me a minute or two growing up around there, and I didn't really even go to shows. There was nothing. Southern Oregon is there's not a lot
Sounds
going
like you
on.
had to go far for that one, so I'm sure it wasn't.
Yeah. Yeah, we moved to Sisters, Oregon, a year later, and another small town, but over about 3 hours north, and met a guy named Eric Brown, who was my youth group leader there, and he changed my life. I just talked to him like last week, and gave him props to his face, so he knows this. But he met me the first day I lived there and tried to invite me into the youth group, and he's like, "Hey, do you like U2? Do you like Nirvana?" And I'm like, I thought coming to America that all these American Christians would only listen to, the Christian
bands.
version of things. And, I should say, like, Chad and I think our biggest bonding moment was over watching Rattle and Hum.
Wow.
We got a pirated copy of that, and we probably watched Rattle and Hum over.
Yeah, I think one of you guys said that in TomCon. I remember you guys saying that.
And it was the first, like, that there's the balance right there. Watch Rattle and Hum. If you don't know U2, or if you do know U2, go back and watch Rattle and Hum and listen and watch the genuine artistry of someone who believes a certain thing and tries to communicate that through art and music. And then watch Guardian or DC Talk. You can feel that, like, I'm sorry, but if I was still believing in God is in one thing and he ain't in the other. Wow. He doesn't give two shits about the other. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, I've had more spiritual moments listening and watching U2 or listening to the Boss than I have, listening to the stuff that's supposed to be quote unquote Christian.
No,
so
I totally get that.
I know that even back then. And so, having some youth group leader walk up to me and go, do you like U2? I'm like, yeah. Oh, it like opened me up. And then from there, I started a band in his youth group that he wanted me to start. He was like, "Hey, do you play guitar?"
Yeah.
Like, sure, I'm learning how to play guitar. He's like, "Well, let's start a band."
That's amazing.
It was everything he said was in like the first 10 minutes of meeting the man. And he was like, "Do you like this?" I'm like, "I do. I'm allowed to." Like,
yeah, no, that's what I was thinking. Am I allowed to like this?
Yeah.
Like,
he allowed me. And then he's like, "You want to start a band?" I'm like, "Yeah. This is awesome." Like, everything just kind of spurred me on, and that's what started it all.
What was those first bands called?
So we started a band called Stymie, just because, I mean, he named everything. Actually, come to think of it, and just so I can say this out loud, in every band I've ever been in, I've never been the one naming the band. So one of these days I'm gonna start my own band with my own name. But yeah, he called the band. It was Stymie, and he was just like, we just want something fun to do at youth group. It's not like, hey, let's go out and minister to the kids.
You're just goofing
like,
off and playing.
Just goofing off. Like, we made a little tape. We recorded some stuff with, like, silly songs like "You Need a Toothbrush" and like, make nonsensical. We put wigs on, and we made up nonsensical songs. And I was like, this is amazing. This is so much fun that we can do something like this. And it was just, I don't even know if there was a genre to it. It was just, basically 3-chord rock and roll that we try and play. But from there, we started getting into the mid-90s or kind of early to mid-90s rock scene in Portland.
Yeah.
So it would have been a club called La Luna that was like all the secular underage shows. A ton of them were going on there, if anybody grew up in the La Luna era. And then Mikey Bridges was putting on shows at a place called The Push that he
I remember that name.
And that was like the Poor Old Lou, Soul Food 76, MXPX, Blenderhead, Don't Know, Sometimes Sunday, that whole era of Christian music where it was like they were pushing their own boundaries.
Yeah.
It was starting to be the Tooth and Nail era, but some of those bands weren't even on Tooth and Nail. There was you were coming up in the Portland underground scene, and there was all kinds of different bands. And it was great because, we would go to those shows as a youth group, and then I'd show up and there'd be like Mikey be out front smoking a cigarette with, 4 of his other buddies. And we were like,
I know. I just told him about that the other day. I literally said the same exact thing. I was like, I saw you smoke one day and it bummed me out. So stupid.
but it's great because, I mean, the stupidity of youth and believing that a faith needs to have all these rules and regulations to it, and if you don't follow them, like, I get to jump down your throat about it. It's so pervasive that it still goes on to this day. Look at our
100%.
Look at our religions. It's it's happened all throughout. I mean, what were the Pharisees doing? They were doing the same thing, right?
Yep.
So jumping down people's throats about rules and regulations instead of you know, God. So it's I'm glad I came up through that, in the sense that I learned a lot and came out of it and went, oh, all of that's just bullshit.
Yeah.
None of that matters.
It's very true.
So, yeah.
So you're playing in these bands, you know, and just kind of getting familiar with music. What leads you to start the W's? Like, bring me to that point in your life.
I think it's pretty typical. Like, when you're into stuff and you don't know how much you're into it, you're just continually pursuing. And so I was, senior year of high school. I'm still only, at this point, I'm only a year or two out of Papua New Guinea. I came home early. I finished 10th grade, or halfway through 10th grade in Papua New Guinea, because we do January to December school in the real way, in the normal calendar in the Southern Hemisphere. And then came to America my junior year, and it was scary and weird to come to big bad America. And so I was, very homesick for Papua New Guinea and pretty pissed off. And so that senior year of high school in Sisters, Oregon, starting to come into my own, starting to figure out, oh, I like music. I like going to these shows. I like pursuing this stuff. This is great. And I didn't have any idea that that's what I was going to do per se, but I just went, I like this. I'm a kid.
Into it. Yeah.
I'm into it. I'm going to go do things I'm into. And at that point, it was just going to shows, a lot of going to shows. And then I went back to visit Chad and watch him graduate in Papua New Guinea in June of 95 or May of 95. I graduated early, and then I took off and hung out with him in Papua New Guinea for 2 weeks. And I was like, I brought all this stuff that I'd found at the Push and La Luna and going to all these Portland shows. I brought it all to Chad and was like, here's this band and this band and this band. And by that time now, some of these bands are on Tooth and Nail, and I'm telling him about Tooth and Nail. I'm telling him this is what the scene is like there. I remember making him listen to the first Bush record over and over and over. It's this is great. This is an awesome record. And some stuff maybe I don't listen to anymore, but
sure.
I still stand by that first Bush record.
I liked it. 16 sounds great. Yeah, it's great.
So that it was born out of that. And then we went to Tomfest, the first Tomfest. And that's where Chad, again, we bounced off of each other with the stuff. I brought Chad there. I brought a bunch of the kids from my youth group. I introduced Chad to all, the kids in my youth group that went to that thing. We camped. That's the only festival I've ever camped out at. And we went to every show there, and we were walking through the merch booth one day, and Chad goes, I'm going to work at Tooth and Nail next year.
Wow.
So without Chad ever saying that, we were two kids at that point. We're just two kids from the mission field in Nowheresville, third world country, Papua New Guinea. A country that no one in the world has heard of, because we keep telling people where we're from and they go, huh? Papa, right? So we're well acquainted with, like, people don't know what we are and where we're from.
Sure.
And this kid goes, I'm going to work at Tooth and Nail, which to us was like, I'm going to be in the Super Bowl next year.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I went, dude, I always loved Chad's, like, ability to see forward, and his, he didn't present as a super optimistic guy, but he just went, that's a direction I'm going in, and I will achieve that. He always did stuff like that. And I went, okay, bud, sure. And sure enough, by the next year, he was working there. Now, his route was hard. He had to drop out of art school, college. He was homeless on the streets for a bit. He worked at Tooth and Nail for free for like 6 months, but he achieved his goal.
It's crazy.
And so at some point there, like right after Tomfest was, I graduated high school, and then everyone's going, well, what are you going to do with your life? And I go, I don't know. I'll go to Brandon Ebel had gone to Oregon State. Yeah. And I went, I mean, I guess I got a buddy that's going to Oregon State. I'll room with him or something. Okay, I'll go to Oregon State. Went to Oregon State, and Brandon Ebel worked at KBVR at the Oregon State radio station. I was like, sure. So I was the assistant rock director of KBVR for a while, and that seemed to work out. And that got me. I had to listen to every single record we got into college rock. So that's a lot of records, a lot of junk, and a lot of great things.
Yeah.
I heard the first Hot Water Music because that came in,
That's
and no one else
rad.
wanted to listen to it, and I started playing it first. And that year beforehand, I'd found Sunny Day Real Estate because we looked at the cover and went, well, this is an interesting artistic cover. Seems different.
Yeah.
We just looked at the cover, bought the record, and went, okay.
This is good.
So I was listening to like Hot Water Music and Sunny Day Real Estate, and still, MXPX and the Tooth and Nail stuff. And I just didn't know any of it was different. I was just putting it all together and going, I like all this stuff. And then I was still influenced by the stuff I came up with in Papua New Guinea. I still listened to underground hip hop. I still listened to what I didn't know at the time was ska or reggae. In any Pacific Islander, ska and reggae is pervasive and all over the place.
Sure.
The red and green and yellow is everywhere because of Bob Marley. And so I listened to like the Scotalites and Tooth Talls and stuff. I was, a ska kid without even knowing I was being a ska kid. And
Yeah.
I listened to all that stuff and then went, this college is boring. Maybe I should so we're like, oh, we're in college. We can, you have bravado and you have this sense of like, I can be a little punk rock kid. Sure, I can do this. And that era in time was, if you can play 3 chords, you can play in a band. So my bass player for the W, Todd Gruner, we were living in the same place and we ended up being roommates. And he's like, I play bass. I was like, I play guitar. We just started writing songs together. And then eventually we're like, we should probably make this into a specific genre. And we're like, well, he could play Primus flawlessly. He could play anything. He was kind of a musical savant and then I was like, well, let's play some ska. He's like, yeah, sure. So we tried to write some ska songs, and then we moved into another house with 50 dudes. It wasn't a fraternity. It was what they call a co-op. But it was a way for us to save money. And then we met some other dudes who were in kind of the same scene, and we all just kind of jokingly created the W's.
Wow.
Out of like, well, we got nothing to do, and why not?
And were you guys, I know you said you kind of wanted to go a route. Obviously at that time, ska and swing and all that stuff was getting really big. And did you guys was it just basically like, we're swinging for the fences here type of thing? And in terms of wanting to make it big, or was it just what you guys were feeling?
We had no concept. Still, it's just a bunch of punk college kids with like trying to find direction in life. All of this is like us trying to find direction, whether it's, coming out of Papua New Guinea, not knowing who I am, trying to find direction, coming into college, not knowing who I am, trying to find direction. And it was like taking large swings at things, because that's what you do when you're young and full of vigor. That's what you do. Yeah. And Oregon State was 80% Greek, lots of fraternities and sororities. And as, a bunch of little punk rock kids going to a lot of shows all the time, we were like, oh, we are going to establish ourselves as 100% anti that.
Yeah.
Anti that. We don't like pop music. We don't like, we're going to only go to punk shows. We were going to like, $5 punk shows in abandoned vacant homes in Eugene, Oregon, where you're like, all right, there's shit in the corner of the room. Maybe we should not, maybe we should not have a venue here. This is going to get shut down in 2 hours anyways. Really trying to prove points, but yeah. It was very, very influenced by youth and energy and what was going on in the time. And in that scene at the time was a lot of second wave ska, a lot of, the Lagwagons and the No Effect and the Millen Collins and the, my personal favorite, Face to Face.
Great band.
Yeah. So we were going to those shows, and we were dressing up in suits and going to all the ska shows and skanking along. Like, yeah. I went to DC Talk and Guardian, and I skanked at ska shows. Yes, I did.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. Well, so how long were you in the W's, and I guess why did you ultimately wind up leaving?
So, as many people that go to college can attest, that first 2 years is basically just general ed stuff.
Yeah.
And I didn't know this until I got back to America, but in America, by the time you hit 10th grade, they're already pressuring you. What are you going to do with your life? What is your major going to be in college? What are you going to try?
Yeah.
I didn't have a lot of that because I wasn't raised here. So when I got here and people tried to give me that, I was like, back off. I'm still just trying to figure out who I am. So I pushed that back far enough that I was a little bit behind the 8 ball. So by the time I got to college and everyone's like, what are you going to do? I went back up. I'm still trying to figure out who I am. Let me just take some general ed, and I'll take some electives here and there. And I'm just
pump the brakes.
Yeah, pump the brakes, everybody. I don't have to do anything because you can't tell me what to do.
I'm a punk rocker.
Exactly. So we pushed back on everything and just went, well, we're going to write music and play on our off time. And, we're all still taking full college courses and going to school. And I'm sure some of those guys had majors. I don't even remember. I'd probably have to go back and ask Brett and Val and those guys, what was your major even? I don't even remember.
Punk rock.
Yeah, we were influenced by the punk rockers around us. And so we were just trying to play and write. And it was, you'd get a little bit of notoriety. Oregon State was not a huge school either. And we were a very small percentage of the punk rock crew that was there. And so we got a little bit of notoriety. We'd play a couple of pizza places. We'd play a couple of house parties. We'd put on our own barbecues in the backyard and play. And we'd be all excited for, a 3-song set that we thought was kind of fun and amazing. And we had 50 dudes living in a house with us. So they'd all show up at the show. Easy and built in. Right. That's kind of where everything started. And then as it went on, as we were actually writing songs, I was like, oh, this writing songs thing is interesting.
Yeah.
I took more music courses there. And then somebody's like, well, you really have to declare a major by your 3rd year. And I was like, really? What if you do music? I was like, no, that means I'd be a music teacher when I get out of here. I don't want to be a music teacher.
Yeah.
I don't know music theory. I like music.
Yeah.
And I forget who it was that finally opened up my eyes that went, Zach, you should do what you like. What do you like doing? What do you like in your life? What do you love? And I went, oh, I love music. I like playing music. I want to be a musician. I want to be in a band. I was not a good musician. I'm still not a great musician, but I love it more than some other people. And so I was like, and I was in the era of, if you can play 3 chords, you can do it. So I then kind of switched everything and just started going in that direction. I went up to visit Chad at Tooth and Nail for like a Christmas break, Christmas break before my 3rd year of college. And again, in the Tooth and Nail way, hung out there for like a week and worked at the mailroom for free because I was visiting Chad and he didn't have any days off. So it was like, all right, well, I'll just hang out in the mailroom. And then Bill Power saw me working there and hanging out there. And like 3 months later, he calls me and goes, you want to work here?
Wow.
And I go, yeah. I mean, at that time, the W's is just playing like our own barbecue shows and pizza places. And all of them are still going to school. So there's no plan I was starting to push like, hey, what about if we
make it serious? Yeah.
What if we played Eugene? And what if we played, let's put I know some bands, let's put some tour together. And they're like, nah, I'm going to go snowboarding with my girlfriend, or they just didn't have the push behind it. And so I went, well, I just got asked to work at Tooth and Nail, which again, in my mind, it's not necessarily a Super Bowl anymore, but it's still like,
yeah,
it's
a dream.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What if I go to be in music business? And that's my thing. I learned the music business by working at Tooth and Nail. So I'll do a good thing for my parents and for my career. I'll learn the business and I'll start some bands up there. Yeah. Somebody up there is going to want to play.
It's a win-win.
Yeah. And so, second year, third year of college never happened. I quit and moved up to Seattle and started working at Tooth and Nail immediately.
So you basically have achieved what I wanted to do as a teenager. You and Chad, for that matter. Yeah, tell me about your time at Tooth and Nail. I'm sure, and you were there right when it was starting to kind of, gain some momentum, I guess. And yeah, bring me through that time. And what was that like? Some highlights, some lowlights. What was that like?
I'm very glad I got to do that. It's everything you think it is. It's for the kids that grew up in a third world country, never thinking they'd be able to get to do any of this stuff or never even understanding what any of that was. It was amazing to be like around musicians and around the business and then understanding how it all goes together. It was amazing. It was taxing. I was more poor than I probably have ever been. It was frustrating. It is all of it wrapped up into one. So for me, I was like the quick down and dirty version. I was still the punk ska kid from, Oregon at that point that they knew of that was still listening to ska. And I moved to Seattle in 1997. So we're talking like Sunny Day has kind of peaked, but Nirvana is over and emo is the underground full swing. Mm-hmm. Not that anyone knew this stuff yet, but the true like emo, the Sunny Days and the Cursives and the
Mineral,
the real emo that started it all, the Roadside Monuments and all that stuff. Like that's what everybody was going to then and there, and that's what Seattle was. And I was like, man, why is everybody so sad around here? I remember wearing a suit to work, thinking.
I was so going to ask you where you showed up in suits.
If you look on some of the Tooth and Nail like Christmas photos, I'm the kid in the back with a black and white
suit.
Yeah,
that's
I got
amazing.
It Army, or my sister bought it for me at a Salvation Army.
That's incredible.
And they all kind of looked at me. They're all in their like black turtlenecks and tight black jeans, and I'm like, you guys need to liven up a little bit. So I wasn't invited to a lot of the shows that everybody else was going to. And I was not the cool kid. I was just a kid who loved music. And I was never good at being cool and on the inside, because that meant you kind of had to push some other people down or like act cooler, or I had to be in the smoking club and I never smoked. So, some stuff that's like silliness now I can see, but that just wasn't me. So I ended up much like Chad, sometimes I ended up hanging out with the MXPX kids a lot. We would go over to Bremerton and stay there and hang out with Mike's mom and dad.
That's cool.
And the Herreras, and they were just that whole crew was really nice to us. There was the 90 Pound Wuss crew is from over there. They were very kind to us. I was making $900 a month. Chad and I were living on $25 a month in groceries. We ate spaghetti.
As a teenager, I thought you guys were all millionaires, like for sure. I was like, that is the goal. I was like, I'm gonna make millions working there, dude. Hilarious.
Yeah. I mean, Brandon was a very smart businessman, and I gave him crap for a lot of years because he paid us like junk. But I didn't know that's kind of how the business is, and I didn't give him his due for how much he put himself out there monetarily. And, a lot can be said on business deals in the music business, and you can go back and forth on whose perspective.
Sure.
I definitely know that my perspective at the time was, you son of a bitch, I'm getting paid like $4.50 an hour. I'm hurting over here and I'm working all the time. I didn't know. I was a kid. I was 19, 20 years old. So, but it was great. We got to experience a lot of that stuff. Got to go to Tom Fest again with Tooth and Nail, Creation, Cornerstone. I went to NAMM in Vegas as a Tooth and Nail rep. I got to experience like the business side of things. I just never, when I get into something, I kind of get all focused on one thing. So I all focused on, okay, I'm supposed to be this guy. I'm trying to be a good employee. And I just kind of didn't ever get to play in bands. I tried, and I never got to. It was like, well, this is cool. I'm 20 years old and I'm backstage with MXPX, and I know, everybody's moms and dads, and I'm like invited in with the family, and this is so cool that I kind of forgot you want to play.
Yeah.
So I got some opportunities here and there, but then after about 2 years there, I went, I'm not playing. And
You're missing it.
This constant rain is killing me here. I'm about ready to jump off a bridge. I can see why Seattle gets, a bad rap. Is I lived there. The last year was over 180 days of straight rain.
That is depressing. It's
and,
beautiful, but at the same time, it affects you.
Yeah. So one day Chad shows up and he goes, I'm quitting today. Wow. Again, very Chad, like, I'm going to work a tooth and nail next year. What? Okay. Chad, same thing. I'm quitting today. I'm moving to Southern California. I'm going to start the Militia Group. It's going to be a magazine, a booking company, and a record company. I was like, huh? What? Huh? Okay. You never told me I'm your best friend. What am I going to do? So I got left there for, I think, another 9 months while Chad took off to Southern California.
Wow.
And the whole time, I mean, I got moved up because Chad left. So I got moved up a couple of positions, and I'm trying to make it work. And I missed playing music. I didn't like the weather. And so I knew Ethan Luck from the Dingies when he came up to visit. And he was no longer in the Dingies. And he called me one day and he goes, hey, do you know anybody that plays bass? We're going to start this band down here called Dear Mr. Peterson. And it's a very Jimmy Eat World kind of thing. That's what and I was like, ooh. He didn't know that I'd spent every day of the last year playing along to Jimmy Eat World. And I was like, this is I love this. This is what I will do.
Yeah.
This is the kind of music I will play. And I went, I don't know anybody who plays bass, but I will play bass. He's like, you play bass? I go, I play guitar. I think I can play bass. No problem. And literally within 2 weeks, I'd moved down to Southern California.
Wow.
I just was like, I'm out. Bye.
Who else was in that band with you guys?
Let's see. So it was me and Ethan Luck, and then our drummer was this kid called Rich Lander. He's now a very, very sought after wedding photographer.
Oh, rad.
His wedding photography name is Chard Photo, Chard, but he shoots like, Real Housewives and
that's crazy.
Like, influencers. He's a great dude. And then our singer was a guy named Jung Park, and sadly he passed away last about a year ago, I think. But there were a bunch of Mission Viejo, Southern California kids that came up in the same scene as Project 86 and Value Pack and the Supertones. And it was all a big scene around us, these specific churches and areas at that time. And so when he said, yeah, we're going to play it, we're going to do this band, it's going to be like Jimmy Eat World, I went,
sign me up.
Yep.
How come that? You guys put an EP out, and what did
never
that
even put it out? We recorded with one of the guys that was recording like the PAX records at the time, PAX 217, and really started mingling with everybody in that scene and playing a bunch of shows at Chain Reaction and all this Coos Cafe and all the Southern California places. But again, it was still that era of kids going, well, I'm just a kid and I'm not sure what I'm going to do with my life, so I'm going to be in a band. But it's not, no one was saying, I will be in a band and this will be my thing and only my thing.
Yeah.
I was one of the only people that I knew that was like, this is me and Chad. This is my thing. I will do this.
Yeah.
I will make money from rent by any means possible. But this, like, I will go work at Tooth and Nail and I will learn music business. And then I will be in a band and that's my career. Never made any money from Dear Mr. Peterson or almost anything else. But that was my goal and idea. And, Ethan, that was hit for him too. But Rich and Jung, I don't know, they were still like trying to figure out what they were going to do with their lives. And after about, 9 months of that, we'd recorded almost enough for a full length, and we'd recorded some of that, and we were looking for somebody to put it out. And then they're like, oh, I'm done. Like one night they just announced it to me that they're like, oh, this is our last show. I was always the last to know. So right after that is when I was living with some of the guys from Stairwell, and I was like, "You guys want another guitar player?" And I was kind of tired of playing bass. I was playing bass in that band with Ethan, and I was like, "Well, I'd like to play guitar in a band now." So I just kind of searched it, and then I found the boys in Stairwell were actually kicked out their other guitar player and put me in. And
who'd you replace?
I apologize to this man. I don't even remember his name. He was an interim guy that they had found that. He was a good kid. He was a good guitar player, but he was the kind of kid who shows up at the, underground shows at the time wearing like silk shirts with like flames on them. And Stairwell guys were like, yeah, that's not, it's not what we're going for.
I freaking love that. That's
amazing. I mean, isn't it petty? Like some of the stuff that we like, he's probably a good kid. He was just different. Like we all were. We were all different.
Sure.
And they were just like, yeah, we're not really. And they, as it happens with bands, they didn't really kick him out very well. They just went, Zach's playing with us now. I should have looked at that into the future. But
how far into Stairwell was that? I mean, were you starting to write with them pretty quickly?
So I was essentially basically the next really full time member after Neil had left and Johnnyton had joined, and so they were already writing for basically the second Stairwell record. So Pacific Standard Time.
Yeah.
What it ended in Pacific Standard Time. And so we had recording already. By the time I got there, they're like, hey, actually, we're signed on Take Hold Records, and we already have a record that we're going to be recording here pretty soon. We're down like 3 or 4 songs. Can you help us write some more? So I came in, I helped them write, ended up being a little bit more than that. And then they're like, well, there's a couple that we need you to sing on because John doesn't have any lyrics for this one or whatever. So I came up with some lyrics for some and then sang vocals on one of them. And then just did background vocals on the rest of it. But that was unbeknownst to me until we went to TomCon. I didn't know how big a deal this was, but that was a green room.
Really?
That was
after, you know what? I think John told me that. Yeah.
Yeah. It was after Eugene was gone, but I didn't know that. And Luis from Plank Eye recorded that for us.
That's crazy.
So I'm fuzzy on the dates, but that was, I don't know, maybe 6 months into me.
Was that fun in the studio?
It was great because I was finally, after how many years of this journey, getting to a place. Like I remember telling Chad, I'm finally this is like where I want to be. Yeah. I am a musician now. I am in a recording studio.
Yeah.
And we are recording a full length record for a record company. Like I recorded stuff here and there with people, but that was like, this is now everything's coming to fruition. Right. So yeah, I loved it. And then I also hated it because then I found out that, oh, Zach, you're not a great singer in studio. And Zach, there's 3 guitar players in this band, and you didn't know this, but when you go in studios, sometimes they just don't even let you play because they need consistency. So they make one guy play all the guitar parts, especially when you're young and don't have a lot of money for the record to record. So they need to go fast. Like, you got
to be ready to go. Yeah.
This isn't Nirvana, getting to record for 3 months someplace. This is us having 5 days to complete a record. You know what I mean? It was quick and fast paced. So it was both like, this is awesome. And they're like, oh, I kind of suck. Oh, I need to get better. Oh, but I'm still doing this. This is great.
Yeah.
So, I did some stuff, but not as much as I hoped I was going to do, which only spurred me on to do more later. But
how did you feel about the record when it was completed?
We loved it when we listened to it with Luis.
I think it's great.
Our biggest disappointment with that record, and I'm still trying to, if anyone ever wants to give me $3,000 just off, out of the kindness of their own heart, I'd send it. I got a guy who would remaster it for us because we sent it off to mastering and it lost all of its magic and all of the entire bass seemed to drop out of that thing. And so we were so excited for that thing to come out. And, that was a record that we wrote mostly out of like just in practices together. And so, and I added a bunch of changes to a bunch of the stuff that they had already wrote. I had never even asked Neil, but I think he wrote some of the stuff for that record. I'm not totally sure. So either way, John wrote most of it, and then we kind of established our songwriting style from there, where John would bring something in, and his creativity was pretty crazy.
He's great.
And he's got such creativity that really makes the Stairwell sound. And then I would come in and go, chorus needs to go here. It needs to be twice as long because it's catchy and we want to keep it, but we need to build it up here. We need to give it some space here. And we'd kind of, I would be the composer. He would be the writer. I would say change this or that, and then we kind of put it all together as one. And then Sean Stopnick was another one he was our third guitar player. He'd been, there probably the longest. And he was the one that was like the ultimate purveyor of like, it's done or it's not done. He would kind of listen to it all and go, nope, it needs a change. I don't know what it is. You guys figure it out, but he was the stamp of approval. So yeah, it was a great experience. And then it was like, let's go out on the road. Now record's done. Take Old wants us to go
what
out.
was the touring like for that?
It was, again, it's all that fun excitement when you're young and like all you do, you're broke, but you're going to shows every night or every other night, and you're making friends with everybody. So we're making friends. I was also still living with Chad. He was doing the militia group. So I was helping book militia group shows for him.
You guys were on the tour, weren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
I think
mostly because, Chad's my best friend.
I think I saw you guys once on that.
Yeah. So we were on that, whatever he called it, the militia circus tour.
Yeah. I saw that.
We made friends with the Noise Ratchet guys who were on militia. And so we toured with I believe Noise Ratchet was the first one. Yeah. And, that was amazing. And, the tour stories are exactly what you would think of, like a bunch of dudes with no money in the back of an 83 Dodge van trying to make it work, breaking down in the middle of nowhere, sleeping on the benches in a McDonald's parking lot and getting kicked out, people thinking we were homeless, and getting paid nothing by promoters who promised something at a church show and them telling you what the Lord wants you to,
give back to us.
Getting paid more playing at a lesbian bar in Fort Lauderdale, Florida than we ever did from any mega church that we ever played. Playing a homeless shelter attic in Oklahoma someplace that was like 110 degrees with no AC. Gosh. I mean, they're great stories, and those stories go on and on, but every band coming up in the day probably has those same stories of just pain and fun, but a lot of 23 hours of pain, an hour of fun.
Yeah.
But that hour of fun was just kept us going.
I believe
we stunk. We did not shower enough. We had no money. We got paid almost nothing, and we lived for that. If we got lucky, an hour, but mostly, half an hour, 40 minutes on stage. Lived for it.
Hey, this is Jeremy with the Rumors Are True podcast. Are you looking to spice up your meals with something real? Introducing Voyager Hot Sauce. Born in Seattle, rooted in the heart of Jalisco, Mexico, and built on community, quality, and excellence. Crafted in fresh small batches with agave nectar for the perfect sweet heat. Voyager is more than just a hot sauce. It's a symbol of gathering, authentic connection, and flavor that brings people together. Whether it's tacos, eggs, pizza, or cocktails, Voyager goes on everything. Head over to VoyagerHotSauce.com to hear their story, explore recipes, and place your order today.
Between going out on after the record comes out, going on tour, and like you just kind of mentioned, how does Hopeless come into the picture? Hopeless Records, and real quick, why not Militia Group with your dear friend or Tooth and Nail, or what? Bring me through that.
Well, I talked a lot with Chad because, I mean, obviously he's my best friend, but we talked a lot of the business stuff. And, as we got older and got through this stuff, Chad was a drummer. And then when he came to America, he was like, I will start the militia group. I will work at Tooth and Nail. I will start the militia group. It was all business stuff. He likes to say that the minute he saw Matt Johnson from Blenderhead and Don't Know play drums and then Roadside, he quit.
He gave up.
He gave up. And we, we all love Matt to death, and I love watching him play drums.
He's so good.
But something in me, and I'm a horrible drummer, but I'll still play drums. If somebody asks me to play drums tomorrow, I'll play drums. I suck, but I still love it, and I will never be as good as Matt. But so yeah, Chad kind of got into the business end of things so much, and he has a genius eye and a genius ear. He is cringing in his car right now as I'm saying these words, if he's listening. But I think other people in his life would agree. And if you just look at the pedigree of the artists that he saw first, brought up, and then sold off to major labels, or even maybe didn't even sell off some of them he did. But if you just listen to some of those records that he caught first, or those artists that he knew first, he could see it before anybody else could.
It's incredible.
I don't know, because I was his friend and I was so close, I don't know whether he actually thought we were that. Because he was too tied to me and too tied to my feelings on whatever else.
And I feel like, I'm sure that's probably difficult because let's say you guys sign and then, a year later you guys are like, this sucks. Why are we, that typical, and you don't want to ruin the friendship or ruin the, I'm sure that probably came into his mind at somewhat.
Probably. And I can't remember whether we talked about that per se. You know how it is with guys, you're not having these in-depth discussions about these feelings at the moment. You're probably just saying stuff like, yeah, bro, that'd be cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah.
I would never do that.
Yeah. I left my guys this morning from my crew and they're like, bye, Dutch, love you. And I went, I know, and walked away. Again, we don't say, yeah, I love you. We do, but now that we're old, we admit these things. But that's, guys, we're just super ridiculous. It's how we talk sometimes. So I don't remember whether it was ever going to be a possibility to go on militia. That's a funny thing. Chad and I should talk about that again. But we were on Hopeless, and turns out, if you go back a little bit, I'd been grandfathered in. I signed, to be on Hopeless as well, just because Stairwell already, Takehold, sorry. Takehold we were already on Takehold. And then I found out that Chad Johnson, who was running Takehold, I'd been talking to him while I was at Tooth and Nail. I knew him already.
Yeah.
He'd run Slacker 66, and I'd sold Tooth and Nail Records stuff to him for years. And so I was friends with him already. And then it turns out that he went to college with a bunch of people that I knew from Papua New Guinea. So we had this weird connection that Chad Johnson and I were like two peas in a pod together. We friggin' loved each other, and he loved Stairwell as his little emo band, in the midst of all of his hardcore bands that he had. He loved Stairwell for some reason.
Yeah.
He is the champion of Stairwell. He's the reason Stairwell ever got.
That's
anywhere.
right. You guys were on Tickled.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, we were on Tickled. We were at the first couple Furnace Fests, maybe first three. I'd have to look back and remember. But, and then, Chad was a visionary who pushed the boundaries of things, much like Mikey, much like, Chad Pearson. And oftentimes the visionaries get hurt the most because they're pushing a vision out there and the vision isn't making the money just yet. So Chad had to sell off and was selling off Tooth and Nail.
I remember this now.
And I had worked at Tooth and Nail. So everyone else went, Under Oath and all these other bands are going, yeah, I'll go to Tooth and Nail. And I went, not a chance in Hades.
Wow.
I still had a chip on my shoulder. I had still hung out with the MXPX guys enough that they had taken me into their camp. And I was like, I don't know enough about contracts in the business, but I do know some because I worked there, and I will not work for Brandon. Again, I was a stuck-up little kid who thought he knew what he was talking about. I don't know whether it really would have mattered if we went to Tooth and Nail or not. I still loved the people that were working at Tooth and Nail. I'm still friends with Bill Power and Jim Worthen and Teresa Bettger and all these people. Susie, that was the graphic designer there, and Jason. There was so many people there that I love that that would have been nice, but I think Chad helped me put Stairwell out to some other people, and Louis Posen at Hopeless kind of saw our potential in the Southern California
That's
area.
big, man. Hopeless is a great label.
And I think the push behind Stairwell, that was the one really card that we could always play, was we had this sound that was different than everybody else, and it was new and interesting. And like I've told everybody in my life that goes, "Oh, you were in a band?" I go, "Well, we were in a band that other bands liked." Like, we got props and a lot of cred from other bands who would go, once Pacific Standard Time came out, bands kind of glommed onto it, and then we recorded Sounds of Change while we were still on Take Hold, and we recorded that with James Wisner, the same guy.
Yeah, he's great. Yeah.
Yep, same guy who did Dashboard and some further stuff, and a lot of bands that we were really loving at the time. And he was this crazy creative genius guy that we loved recording with, and it came out and it had a buzz.
Yeah.
I remember our manager, my buddy JJ, who was kind of road manager for MXPX. Again, everything ties back. He played it for Matt Pinfield, and Matt Pinfield said he loved the record.
Wow.
Are you kidding me? That's like one of the things in my life I can rest on. I remember going to visit Chris Carrabba on the bus at Chain Reaction when Dashboard was playing, and that's when Dan Horner from Sunny Day was for a little bit. Yeah. And I was I'm trying to schmooze and trying to hang out with my old buddy Chris, who we toured with for a little bit, and also trying to get us on some shows. And you're doing that thing where you're constantly doing everything, trying to hang out with your friends, but also trying to get on some shows. And Chris introduces me to Dan and goes, "Hey Dan, this is my buddy Zach. He's in the band Stairwell. You remember I was just playing you their record?" And Dan Horner goes, "Oh yeah, that was what did he say?" I just remember it was an expletive of some sort where he was like, "Oh yeah, that was the shit."
Oh man, that's awesome.
Dan Horner?
That's crazy.
Said that Stairwell record was the shit. I was like, and he's
like, "You want an autograph, Dan?"
Yeah. It's like, and it might have been like, that was fucking rad. Now we know, it could have been him putting it on and he'd been introduced to a band guy and he just goes, "Oh yeah, that was fucking cool." Okay, I don't care. He said it. The words came out of his and it was that sort of stuff that we had some sort of gravitas with that sort of stuff, and that was proven to me. I think those moments are real in my mind, and that's probably why Louis took a chance on us, and I was very thankful for that, because he had to buy off the masters from Chad Johnson.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I spent, because I'd worked at Tooth and Nail, I spent 6 months talking to JJ, our manager, and talking to lawyers and talking to Louis and going up there and having meetings with, all of them. And I remember being on the phone a lot and, emailing stuff back and forth a lot. And the guys were kind of giving me crap because I was constantly talking to them about business stuff. And I ended up being a little bit too much in the business side of things, and not paying attention to the band as much. So I think that's probably what started my downfall, which is fun. That got us signed on to Hopeless. But
well, let me before we talk about you leaving the band, just curious, working with Wisner, I know you kind of alluded to him being a genius. What was that like recording with him, and how did you feel about the record?
I loved the end result. It was amazing. Again, I was hoping to do more on the record than I had done on Pacific Standard Time. So me personally was, again, a little bit hard when I wasn't able to produce as much. It's interesting going back in time, listening to other people talk about their recording experiences. As a musician, it's oftentimes where you find out that you're not as great as you thought you were. Needed to work harder.
Is that a hard pill to swallow?
Yeah. And, I did, and I worked harder, and I played on more stuff on that record than I did on the previous one, but it still wasn't, where I wanted to be. And so personally, it was a little bit hard. But as a band, it was a great experience. Again, another fun experience of like this weird creative genius who would like record stuff, and then he would tell us, hold on, I need a break. And he would go lay down on his bed, because we were recording in his apartment.
Yeah, I think
He had
I've
a whole
heard that.
studio set up in
Yeah.
his apartment, right? He'd be like, I need to go lay down. And he would go listen to sound like ocean sounds
Just
for
clear his head.
an hour. He'd be listening to ocean sounds. And it's a bunch of, again, we're still just a bunch of punk indie emo kids going, huh? What? We just wanted to record, dude. I didn't know you needed to take a break from this sort of stuff. But, you know, you get older and you figure out, oh yeah, the dude had to listen to this stuff over and over
Yeah,
and over.
probably need to clear his head a little. Yeah.
Yeah. But I wouldn't have known to go do that, and he did. And if you've ever met James Wisner, he's just got a different perspective on everything. And again, I love interesting and unique people. So I both love him and did not understand a single thing about him, which was, you know, probably great. So yeah, that was a great experience. And then when it came out, it was recorded great. He was like, what do you guys want to master this off of? What do you want it to sound like? And Weezer Green Album had come out. We were like, we just want it to sound this professional and this pop rock. Like, we wanted a professional, catchy record.
Yeah.
And we got it.
I feel like you achieved that.
Yeah,
for sure. I love this record, by the way.
Yeah, I still love it. You know, there's again, you go back in time and you go, well, it could be updated. But for the time, I think it really was, and it was our calling card of like, it's unique, it's different. It wasn't like any of the other bands coming out at the time, and it was both catchy and poppy enough, and could be played on the radio here and there. And you know, if we had been the right band, we could have pushed it a little bit farther. But yeah.
Well, what was the touring like for this? And I know you alluded to eventually having a downfall with the band. Kind of bring me through the end of your time with the band.
Yeah, I mean, again, that stuff sort of melts together too, of like what era was what. You know, we were playing Pacific Standard Time stuff, and then we played a tour out to Florida to go record the Sounds of Change, and then played a tour back, and maybe played like Cornerstone and some different places on the way on doing that. And probably the Militia Circus was wrapped up in all that. I can't remember dates. But then, you know, getting on some shows, coming back home and getting on some shows here and trying to build up some local following. We played all the California, we played LA, we played San Diego, we played as much stuff as we played with Thrice, and we played with a band called Death on Wednesday. A bunch of like secular stuff where we started getting more into like, we were not a Christian band anymore.
Sure.
We never really were, but we were not playing in those shows anymore. And then we ended up playing with Element 101 on a tour for a while. We played a tour with 238, which still to this day, one of my favorite times.
So good.
My favorite dudes.
Staples is great.
Shout out to Jake Brown, still just one of the best dudes ever. And then
is that Chad calling you?
No.
Oh, he just text me, and he was like, "Are you guys doing that right now?" I didn't know if he called you.
Oh,
sorry. Go ahead.
Oh,
say what you're saying.
That was my little sister. Sorry, Heidi. I'll call you back.
Yeah.
So a lot of the timing of that stuff gets wrapped up, and we were, you know, slowly gaining some momentum of playing with some bigger names and playing with Newfound Glory here and there, and you know, some other bands that were like, oh, this is going to be we're going to do something with this.
Yeah.
And I remember us getting slotted to get on Warped Tour, and I was like, oh, this is going to be great. And then literally we had a show at the Showcase in Corona with Noise Ratchet and some other bands. And I called Sean to go, hey, what time are we meeting up to play that show tonight? And Sean goes, oh, you're not playing that show.
What? Sean Stopnick?
Yeah.
Oh.
And I went, huh? He goes, yeah, you're not in the band anymore. Actually, I don't think he even said you're not in the band anymore. He's like, we're playing without you. And Sean has apologized since, and the other guys have apologized since. And there's a lot of, as bands go, there's band drama, and some of this based around me being gone to try and get us signed to Hopeless. And A lot of creative differences with me and John that, John has apologized up and down since then of like, I was a kid. I didn't know I
Yeah, I
was,
mean, that makes
he's
sense.
a little creative genius. And so he's very much the creative mind and doesn't see the business side of things. So didn't know how hard I was working. Didn't see my perspective, and I was in the business sense, did not see his perspective. So it was very much like, okay, what the hell just happened? And next thing you know, I was out of the band.
Mm.
They'd been practicing without me for like a month with somebody else. And
How did that feel?
I mean, I carried that chip on my shoulder for 15 years. It hurt to my soul. I think you'll find from people that you know me that I am one of the most loyal people you'll ever meet. When you're my person, and I will fight to the death for you. I remember Chad saying that at my wedding. But like, that's the truth. There's a reason I'm a firefighter now, is because I really do enjoy the camaraderie of being on, I wouldn't even say a team, but like a crew with people and having a singular purpose with other people. I don't enjoy competition. I don't enjoy like the bro type A macho attitude. I enjoy accomplishing something as a team of people.
Yeah.
And looking around and going,
we did this.
This is good.
Yeah.
What we have done is good. We've done a good thing. And so I loved being in the back of an 83 Dodge van with, 4 other dudes and trying to accomplish something big, trying to accomplish your dreams together. I loved it and did not understand what the hell had just happened. And as much band drama happens, this stuff happens all the time, and just didn't think it would happen to me. And then it did. And then I was like, I was so hurt and so crushed. I remember the guys from Noise Ratchet, I was a big fan of making my own shirts. So I would just go like get iron on letters and make my own t-shirts. I was the guy that, in the Huntington's video that had the I Love Jennifer Love Hewitt shirt, because I made that shirt because I thought it was Party of Five. It was the 90s. I thought that was kind of a funny thing to make. And we were at a house party, and the Huntingtons were going to film one of their videos, and Darren Doan saw my shirt and goes, we're going to make a video about that. Like, he literally didn't know what they were going to make. And he just saw my shirt and goes, oh, we're going to make a video about you.
That's amazing.
So that little creativity bubbled out. And the guys knew that I was the guy that made t-shirts. And Noise Ratchet, that night that they were supposed to play with Stairwell, the guitar player just wore a shirt that said, where is Zach?
Oh.
So it's like, both equally, like, I was crushed and like, at the same time, like, buoyed by my friends who were, I was the guy that made friends with everyone in other bands, and I was the guy that had connections.
Yeah.
Come to find out in the rest of my life, like, that's one of my loves in life, is connecting good people.
Yeah, I'm the same way, man. I totally get it.
I meet people I love, and they're really creative and great, and I will introduce them. My buddy Andy Lara is an amazing podcaster and guitar player and techie and wizard. And every time I meet somebody, I go, you should meet Andy. He's an amazing guitar player, an amazing cinematographer, and he's a podcaster, and he can do everything. You should really. And I love connecting good people with other people.
Yeah.
So that part was like, oh, now I'm going to miss that. And the people that I connected were no longer helpful with Stairwell, because they were like, well, big middle fingers to the Stairwell guys, because they just kicked out Zach. So I, in my own ego and hubris, will say that was the downfall of Stairwell. They kicked me out, and they went on to play the Warped Tour a little bit and do some stuff here and there, but they never had any more drive, and the magic that we once had as a team, me and John, was gone. So, that's my own ego and hubris, and maybe that helps me feel better at the end of the day. That's my truth. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm glad, that you obviously have made up with those guys, because deep down, you guys, you're all sweet guys and got good hearts and super talented. And it's awesome. I'm sure that was tough at the time, but it seems like you've come over the mountain from that, and it's time, you've moved on and you're obviously in a different place in life too. So, yeah, man. Well, that's a bummer that happened. But again, life is kind of full of those ups and downs. And
Yeah, for sure.
the next thing you had was My Red Hot Nightmare with Ethan Luck again. Kind of bring me through that. I remember seeing that. Wasn't that on Tooth and Nail comp? I feel like, or
I don't know if he ended up getting it on that.
it was on a comp somewhere. I don't know
Yeah,
where.
probably. Oh no, it wasn't Tooth and Nail. It was I can't remember the name of the record company, but it was a record company that I think they're still around. They put out like LPs of they put out records.
Yeah, I know what it is. It was yeah, it was a Reliant K's label.
Yes, whatever.
Because they had like my other band or something like that. Or
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Oh, what was that called? Brad Moist did it. Mono versus Stereo. No,
Maybe that. I don't know. I'd have to look back.
it might have been Mono versus Stereo.
Yeah. Ethan had a relationship with the guy, but that was born out of quit Stairwell, dawdled around for about a year and a half, couldn't figure out what I wanted to do with my life. Was 27 years old by that point and went, I can't. All the bands that I know of, they're all established and nobody's asking for another guitar player. And this is another fact that's really fun in life. I'd been turned down by enough girls that went, you don't have any direction in life. You're just a band guy. And I went, what am I going to do? I do want a family someday. I want to be a grown up, but I love music. I don't know if these two things are going to coincide. And I've just been kicked out. I don't know if I can creatively start over. So I happened upon, an ex-girlfriend had a cousin that was a firefighter. And next thing you know, I kind of caught the firefighter bug. And like I said before, when I find something that I'm interested in that kind of gets me, I zero in on it. And I'm not good at like doing a bunch of different stuff. I like zeroed in on that. Next thing you know, I was going to school for it. Next thing you know, I was an ambulance driver. And next thing you know, I was trying to get hired in the fire service. And that's really, really hard. And I was homeless or sleeping on people's couches forever and working ambulance jobs that paid nothing. And I was back to the beginning, and it was like full force, that all the time. And I was hurt enough by Stairwell that I couldn't go to any of the shows. Not Stairwell shows. I couldn't go to any shows because my friends would all be at those shows and they'd be like, oh, are you okay? Is this Stairwell? I know Stairwell. What are you going to do? I couldn't handle any more questions
I get that.
about anything. So I just stopped going. And then after so many years of trying to be a firefighter, I missed music. I missed speaking my own first language, which, come to find out, after living in a bunch of different countries and being in different jobs and having all these different experiences, my first language is music. Yeah. I get more soul and more joy out of sitting and talking the same language as people. And anybody who loves music knows there's a shorthand to it. There's an understanding that I just missed talking about it. And so I eventually started glomming onto some people I thought were safe. Jake Brown from 238 was
that's how we met.
Yep. He was now in a band called Moments in Grace. And so I started hanging out with those guys when they were in town, and almost joined Moments in Grace for a second there. It was real, maybe we'll do that. And then that's right when I was getting hired, or I got an ambulance job, and I was like, so it was these little jumps back into music that I was like, maybe I can't, I'm a grown up now. I need to be a grown up, but I miss music. So little bits of that finally ended up, like, Ethan was still living. He lived in Nashville for a while. He came back out here. We all kind of moved down to San Clemente, California, a little small town. And we were all just kind of hanging out together, all still poor and, with nothing to do. And he's like, hey, you just want to, we loved Rocket from the Crypt. And we're like, you want to be like a blatant Rocket from the Crypt ripoff band? Like, not play covers, but just like, we want to sound exactly like Rocket from the Crypt. I was like, yes. I'm just driving an ambulance, getting paid no money. So yes, I want to do that right now.
I love that.
And so he let me play second guitar, and we got, our vocals didn't have to be great because we were just, yelling at the mic like we were Rocket from the Crypt. And we had all this fun. Our buddy Todd Cooper, who went on to, he's in a band called God Collider now.
Okay.
And he was in a band called, not The Wreckage, I'm going to shoot myself. The album is called The Wreckage. It's one of the most amazing albums I've ever heard. It's a great album, but he went
Huh.
on to be a singer for that. Um, he's married to Sarah Watkins from Nickel Creek, and he lives in
Oh,
LA.
wow.
He is a really creative dude, and he got to play bass on that. We just had a fun being creative again. And
Yeah.
we all, we got to go record a little EP with Frank Lenz. And it wasn't like we're going to record an EP and we're going to put it out and we're going to do stuff. It was born out of like a creative void for all of us. Ethan was either just coming out of the Supertones, just ending the Supertones, or again, I'm not sure of the timing,
Sure.
but was, maybe going into Reliant K at the time, couldn't remember, but didn't have really anything full time. And so we were just trying to do stuff.
Yeah.
Never really had a purpose behind it, but just that's some of the, if you ask musicians, that's some of the most fun you can have.
I bet.
Yeah.
I bet. Well, that's cool. It's been a while since you've done that, but
Yeah.
I do know that you wound up reuniting with Stairwell for Furnace Fest recently, a couple years ago. What was that like? Obviously we kind of just touched on, that time, but what was that like kind of being back on stage with the guys, and what was that experience like?
Yeah, I've told many people since that might be the singular biggest thing that has refilled my soul in the last 10 years. And I don't mean to make light of that because I have 2 children and a wife and a family,
Sure.
and I love them dearly. But I think I found that I was playing a character in the fire department that I didn't know I was playing, because again, I singularly focus on things, and I accomplished something I thought was pretty hard to do, which was become a firefighter. It's a very hard thing to do.
I believe it.
Been through 2 fire academies. I've got, a back injury, a shoulder injury. I've got, I'm 48 years old now, and I'm, broken down and busted, but it took me a lot to get here. I took over 50 tests to get on the fire department.
Wow.
Many times I thought it was never going to happen. So it's a big thing that I accomplished, but I also found out that I am not your typical firefighter. And so I sometimes don't fit in the just sitting around talking about fire culture. I don't care for that as much, and that's fine, but it made me envious and sad and lonely for the times when I could just be myself and talk about, I'm not going to sit around the fire service and talk about the difference between Foo Fighters with, the Sunny Day Real Estate guys in it and Foo Fighters with them gone. Like, I could talk about that sort of stuff with my music friends till I'm blue in the face, and have and will still tonight if you want me to. But I can't do that with people in the fire service. Just
Sure.
They don't care. They don't know. It takes too much explaining. That's fine.
Yeah.
It's just different scenes and different people.
Different world.
And so when the Furnace Fest stuff started to come back around again, I literally had to start giving up the ghost and stop holding it like that chip on my shoulder. And Chad Johnson asked me for the first one. He's like, jokingly, what if Stairwell played it? And I went, not a chance in Hades, my friend. And then after a while, they played that. They had that first Furnace, and I looked at everybody playing it, and I went, what am I doing? You are a stupid, stuck-up, stubborn man. It makes no sense, buddy. You're holding on to something that you don't need to hold on to, and you're being dumb. And it also made me, it wasn't just like, oh, I'm dumb. It was, oh, I miss that. Look at how much fun everyone is having. Not, look at that. Maybe we could be something again. Maybe we could get on a label again, and maybe we could, no. Just look at them all enjoying themselves and playing the music of our youth, and everyone is still going.
Yep.
And even if there's not that many people going, they're still doing it, and they're still enjoying themselves. So the next year when Chad was like, what is Stairwell? I go, yes, 100%. Yep. I don't think I even asked John. I just went, yep. So, getting back together was mostly just me calling John and going, I'm an idiot. You're an idiot. Let's both be idiots together. And he was kind of the same way, like 100%. Yeah. Time has passed. We were all idiots. Let's do this. And then we just kind of grabbed a couple of extra people that we could. John's cousin Justice came in to play drums for us for a while. Jeff came in to play bass for us from
Unashamed.
Unashamed.
I know. I didn't even know that. I'm bummed that I literally didn't know that at the time. I would have freaked out. I found out after the fact. I was like, "Are you kidding me?"
Well, and little did I know, because I didn't know Unashamed that well back in the day, and I didn't know Jeff that well. That little I know, like if you've seen, again, my brain is farting. I apologize. If you've seen Tom Hanks' music movie,
that thing you do.
That thing you do. That part where the bass player in that is just called TB player. He doesn't have a name. His name is just TB player because he's an enigma, and they're not really. He's just a strange kid, and I equate Jeff to that. Like he just shows up out of nowhere and is willing and is playing, and you're like, who are you? Where'd you come from? And he's great hang, and then like he just disappeared.
That's what I heard. So he was like, he just bounced.
Yeah, and there's no drama. There's no nothing. You just like. God, that's another thing I love about the music world. There's just such unique people that you're like, we can all just sit back and go, isn't Jeff just a funny kid? I mean, he's a 50-year-old man. He's a strange kid, but he's like a surf coach and a dad, and he'll just go away for like 3 days on his own into the mountains in his van. And you're like, it's so unique and strange. I love it.
Yeah.
Love it. But so Jeff was there with us for a little bit, and then I got Andy Lara to come in and play guitar for us. All the other guys in Stairwell they're now in different states. I can't even find our old bass player. No one knows. He's dropped off the face of the earth. Our drummer from Stairwell, Tim Cole, he's now a lawyer and is just a grown-up lawyer now. And Sean Stopneck, our other guitar player, he was someplace else, and now I think he's in Austin.
Austin.
Still a graphic designer. But I didn't even ask them because I was like, they're not even in the state. So Andy Lara used to be in a band called Dakota, and he grew up with the Treyu kids and kind of played with them a bunch. And he's just he's best friends with Jared Martin, the famous photographer. I'm going to label this famous punk rock photographer. And so he's a little podcast genius, a little tech genius, and he's freaking guitar.
What's his podcast called? I want to check it out.
He does a bunch of stuff for Thrice. He did a bunch of stuff for a pastor called Mike. Again, my brain. It was called the Vox podcast. Okay. Mike Erie.
Okay.
He's a techie genius and a guitar genius and a creative genius. Awesome. And great family man. He's a good cook. Andy,
he's the perfect man.
Andy's got so many talents. I can't speak enough about Andy. He's freaking rad. And I wish I was him, other than the fact that I don't have his tech knowledge and don't really want it because there's too much in his head.
Yeah. No, I get
Anyways, brought Andy in, and he plays great guitar. So that was the incarnation this time. And then right before we played Furnace Fest, we lost Justice to COVID. And so I had to conscript another one of my buddies to come in and play drums for us, Scotty Hara. And he's another tech genius that was like our constant go-to genius guy that we always go to for gear. And he plays every instrument you can think of. And I just was like, when was the last time you played drums? He's like, 10 years ago. I was like, you can play drums for us, right? And in 10 days, learned the songs, and
it's incredible.
Played with us at Furnace. So
what was that playing? What was that like playing? How was that fulfilling? Was that validating? How did that make you feel?
It's like coming back to it where you're like, oh, this is great. And then you go, oh, but we're still the same people. So it's like, the same little squabbles of like, hey guys, we need to pay attention. We need to actually practice. So then I'm back to being the business guy that's like, come on, focus up, guys. And now by that time I was taking the test to be a fire captain, and now I'm like a leader, and I'm like dragging us along. But now we're a bunch of old men who are like, talk about having a hard time showing up to stuff. We all have kids and, jobs and careers. And so it was great and creatively fulfilling to get back together and play again. So creatively fulfilling that we were like, we're going to record another record. This is going to be great. But we played Chain Reaction. We played some other shows around town. We talking to other friends about playing on some tours when they come through. And I was like, this is amazing. And then you're like, oh, but I can't do that because I got to take the CAPS test at that time. Or, where the heck did Jeff go? No one knows where Jeff went.
Yeah.
John, will you pick up your goddamn phone and, pay attention? And John's off trying to do the sound in movies and TV stuff. And so, we're all old dads with jobs and careers, and we're still trying to do stuff. So it's super hard, but I loved getting back together and doing it. But I still have the same creative differences and the same like frustrations about us needing to play a little bit more professional and,
Taskmaster.
Yeah. Taskmaster. I didn't know I was. And then turns out, I am.
Well, you and I got to link up. Oh, by the way, I'm happy that you got to play Furnace Fest, by the way. I thought it was amazing and it was cool. And I'm sure it made you feel all the feels and all that stuff. But, seeing people singing and hanging out and just, being awesome. So anyway, you and I hung out a week ago and in Costa Mesa at TomCon, which was a blast. I had an absolute blast. Talk me through that and what that was like for you, and bring me through that.
Well, I think a lot of that can get wrapped up into the larger story of music in this time. If you look at it as a whole, as oftentimes like we do as people who are still interested in music, and you look back on it as in genres and in eras, you can say to yourself, okay, like when we came up, oldies was a certain era. And so like my mom listened to Motown. My dad listened to, some Bakersfield country and some, James Taylor. So I know what eras he came up in. And you wouldn't find me and my dad going to a James Taylor show 30 years later. But now 30 years later, I'm still going to the same shows.
Mm-hmm.
With the same bands. That's odd. It's not the way any of us thought music went. When we came up, it was different. Like you went through an era, there was the bands, and then like if you looked at like as we were starting to play all of our shows, all of the 80s hair metal bands were now relegated to dive bars in the middle of LA, right? And you thought, well, that's the period. That's how things go. It came up, it was huge, and now it's not that huge. It's not big with the kids anymore. Now it gets put on the back burner, and it goes back here. And it's not as popular. People still love it, or they'll go to the Coach House or some stranger thing in the suburbs that will, some Indian reservation will put on Rat or Warrant. But that's not how our stuff went. It did for a little bit, right? Face to Face and, a lot of that era, those bands all went, okay, we've had a nice long run. We're done now. We can't continue anymore. It's starting to decline. And then stuff started, coming back around, whether it was the COVID that made it, or they just found that like, no, some of those bands like MXPX was still, Mike was keeping MXPX alive. It was still charting. He was still going. Even after Yuri and Tom left for a while. And then they came back like, they're still going hard. They're still drawing people. And then so a lot of our friends and our bandmates started seeing stuff like that, and then they tried. Beautiful Mistake guys started coming back around. Slick Shoes guys are like, well, let's get back together and record a record. Acceptance gets back together and records a record here and there. Like friends of ours that started doing that, where you go, oh, we can do this and people will still show up. Maybe not on a full-time basis. We're all old people with careers, and that's fine. But we can still do this. Interesting. So it's taken some years for everyone to accept how to do that and if to do that. And we've all done it in different ways. And Tom Fest kind of was a thing that we'd all talked about back in the day that we had all done. And then Mikey approached Chad and I and a bunch of other people and said, hey, I'm thinking about doing this thing. Would you help me put it together and ask some people to be on it? And, I just kind of play phone tag and with Mikey and send him my connections and he'd send me his, and we ask a bunch of people to be on the thing. So it was, it was an interesting trying to go back in time and talk about and see if people would still be interested in talking about this stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. It was really cool, man. I loved hearing the panel that you were on. I was bummed that I couldn't be the moderator, but I was stoked because I got to enjoy it.
Yeah.
But it was really cool to hear your perspective and some of the stories you talked about today. I was like, oh yeah, I remember him saying that.
Yeah.
But it was cool. I thought it was awesome because you've got, 4 to 6 perspectives in a limited amount of time, but it's like you get a glimpse behind the curtain of, whoever's on the panel at that time. And it's kind of like, it's just really cool. I really enjoyed being a moderator for it. It was nerve wracking. I told everyone I was so nervous because I'm used to doing podcasts where I can sit in my room right now and just relax. And it's so different getting in front of people.
Yeah.
So I took a couple shots for sure to go out there. But yeah, man, that was cool to hang out and really connect with everyone and just be able to. I think the whole theme of the weekend was just the connection of it all, like you kind of described earlier, how wanting to like introduce this person or be involved in this conversation. It was just really cool to like see everyone kind of in their element, which I thought was really a beautiful thing.
Yeah. I mean, I think everyone wished there'd be some more people there, but it's, you never know with this stuff that, like nobody knew if Furnace was going to come off the first year, and it did. Nobody knew if it was going to come off this last year, and luckily there were some things that made it work, and it came in last minute. So there's you never know about this stuff. We all still love all of it, and we all still love either talking about it or the memories that we had in it. And it's always this struggle of like, is this nostalgia? And do you talk about nostalgia, or are people sick of hearing back in my day? Like maybe some of that is this and maybe some of it isn't. But like many people try to say, this was our high school reunion. This was our college reunion. Many of us did not have the normal upbringing in life, whether it was for me coming from a missionary field or for even the kids that were from America. They came up in music and did not go to college, or some of them not even high school. So this was our friend group and our basis for who we are in this world. And so it's great to get back together and talk about things that we're passionate about. It was interesting for me because of coming from a different perspective where like Chad and I and other missionaries that came back, we definitely had this understanding like, you guys in America trying to make this Christian music, quote unquote, thing, a thing is not a thing.
Yeah.
There is no such thing. I remember having that argument for, once I got to Tooth and Nail, even before Tooth and Nail, when, Tom Fest was going, I had that argument. I've probably still had that argument, for the last 30 years. There is no such thing. I get what you're trying to do. And we all know when the business, boils it down to a certain genre, it needs to have a way to make money on something. But so it was interesting hearing some people's perspective of like at TomCon of who came up with what bands and what were important to them at the time. Like, Joey was asking some questions at our panel, like what Christian bands were really, making you, what spurred you on and what were your favorite stuff. And I felt really bad because I was trying to be genuine, and I was like, none. They were the bottom rungs on the ladder to get me up there that made me think, oh, this is okay if I go this route. But by the time I understood what was really genuine and what was real, it was Face to Face and Hot Water Music and Sunny.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And Cursive and even the Scottolites and Toots and the Maytals and stuff that I went, oh
yeah,
this is music without pretense, music that is just trying to tell someone what you're about and not trying to be like, well, we have to talk about Jesus a certain amount so get in the Christian bookstores. Again, I'm putting on a horrible voice there because that's not, I don't mean to talk down about this.
No, I get you, bro. I get you. Well, listen, man, I know you can't predict the future, Zach, but what do you think the future looks like for you?
I can tell you what I'm striving for right now, and what's in my freaking gut and my soul is that I can't wait to play music again. I am now right back where I was right after Tooth and Nail. And if somebody calls me in the next minute and says, hey, can you come play bass on something, I will do it right now. Stairwell, we're still trying to record some stuff and get back together and play. Some of the guys that we had come in are gone. Andy's off playing with Beautiful Mistake now and still willing to play some Stairwell stuff, but I don't know if that'll ever be something. I certainly hope it will, because John and I have creative magic there that I always did love. Hopefully we're going to do something with that. So if anybody out there can play bass or guitar, great. Give me a holler. But I am searching for another way to play music still. And I think that's like, the bigger goal in my life is just how can I play or record or create again? Mm-hmm. I don't have any larger scheme of like, I'm going to play in this band. It's going to be called this. And next year we're going to put out a record on this label. I don't have that. If I want that, I know people, then I'm sure we can start going down that road. But as I've told Louis Posen from Hopeless many times, hey, I'm real sorry, bro. We still owe you $30,000. And I don't know if we're ever going to pay that back. He's very genuinely nice man. And he's like, dude, you're fine. This stuff happens. And, but I'm sure if Stairwell wanted to get back together and record some stuff, we could find somebody to put it out. Or in this day and age, who cares if anybody puts it out? We can put it out ourselves. So the great ability now in this new technology to do whatever you want with it is great. But it's now having the chance as a dad with, a 7-year-old and an 11-year-old, and I'm a fire captain with a busy job. And when do we all have time to do this?
Yeah.
I just know all I want to do is that. I want to play.
I love that. Zach, dude, I've super enjoyed this, man. I know we've been looking forward to it for a while, and just really appreciate you hanging out with me. And I really appreciate your friendship, man. And over the last couple of years when we met each other, I feel like we had a connection, and been nothing but amazing hanging with you every single time I've gotten an opportunity to. So just want to let you know that I really, really appreciate you as a person. And I truly want to confirm you are a mover and a shaker, man. Like, for real. I mean that. Like, it takes a true talent to be that. So
I really, really appreciate it, buddy. It's always nice to hear compliments from people, but as they go, I always try to push them off. But that is one of my true loves in this world is good people.
Same here.
So connecting with and connecting other good people, and I mean that means to me just as much as music does, because it's all wrapped up in one for me. Yeah, I really appreciate it, dude.
Hey, listener, thank you for tuning in again and again. I really appreciate it, guys. So thank you for going on this journey with me. I really, 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 again, appreciate it. If you'd like to add me on Instagram and Facebook at The Rumors Are True Cast, if you'd like to like and subscribe, you know the drill. So thank you again for that. Thank you to Zak Shultz. Super honored to have you on the podcast, man. And it's been a long time coming. So I appreciate hearing your perspective and just kind of your journey. So again, thank you to Zak Shultz. Got some incredible artists on the horizon, guys. You know it, nostalgia is still a heck of a drug. The podcast is produced by Wesley Hill, artwork by Jared Chase Bowser, and music by Brian Jaron. This episode is dedicated to the memory of my dear friend, producer, and man of many talents, Brian Jaron.